All right, good afternoon, everyone. As always, my name is Ben Harmon, and I'm your host today in covering the zero-based budget. This is a continuation of our series. We've been focusing on a lot of different topics. Some of our topics are based on different budgeting methods. Some of them are up and coming things that are just more important. So today, we're going to do zero-based budget. I really like this budget because this is definitely a more an advanced budget. So this isn't going to be for someone that is just getting into the budgeting realm. That's where we're going to say the 50-30-20 for, or even some of the other ones, even like this is the cash envelope budget. But the zero based budget is definitely one of the more higher end ones. And this is why I like it, because it does create a lot of different things that we'll explain here. But I like it because it's not easy and not everybody can do it. And I feel like when I've done this budget specifically, it felt really good because I just really lean, real fine tuned, nothing left unturned, because you'll know, because again, zero base means you come down to that zero. And so, as always, let's start with the famous quote: "You must gain control of your money, or the lack of it will forever control you." Our good friend Dave Ramsey, financial guru, definitely a good part to lean back on. But he's right. If every time that we get our money, it just instantly has to be paid out and all the bills, you have no choice in what it does. It doesn't do anything for you currently. It's just recovering your past. So the fact that you really wanted to keep that mind set is definitely something that I like. It does help me a lot when I'm just trying to stay really on task, as far as I don't want to have my whole paycheck disappear into paying bills, right? So the zero-based budget, simply put, it is your income minus your expenses must equal zero. Now, every month it's going to change, right? Because sometimes we'll have different things that are thrown into there, but expenses must match your income during that month. So if you have anything left over after you pay your basic bills, you have to make categories for those that will drive it down to zero. It literally gives the meaning to every dollar has a job, and you cannot leave any dollar unturned. And so it might be a job that allows you to have fun with it, but it's still a job that you have to put a specific budget. And that doesn't mean that your account actually goes down to $0. That just means that you ask every dollar to be supported by some kind of need, and it doesn't have to be spent right away. It could be a savings need, it could be something for disposable income, something you need later that month. But everything you spend, save, give, or invest should add exactly your net income each month. And I know sometimes it seems like I'm saying the same thing, but it really is that simple. If you want to have the mastering of the zero-based budget, it is all your income minus your expenses equals zero. And that just prevents you from having the paycheck to paycheck cycle, right? So I get paid, I pay my bills, and I take whatever's left over. Depending when I get paid, let's say hypothetically, I get paid every 2 weeks. Well, I'm going to, cut whatever's left over in half, and kind of that's my budget for the week. This will prevent that. This will give you an exact budget. So if, let's say, I have $350, but I give myself, a $100 budget each week, well, that leaves the 150 left over that I can find another job for. And it doesn't just disappear, right? There's no room left for that common ground, or that slap, or that slash area. I don't know what I'm trying, slush area, right? The slush fund. So that being said, where do you start? Well, first, start by writing down your monthly income. Old-fashioned pen and paper, spreadsheet. There's even apps that will help support you and help kind of like pre-fill categories, or maybe even help remind you. But I feel like a lot of people nowadays, especially when you get into your adult life, that you have a kind of a cycle of your bills. You might even know them off the top of your head, but write them down. And then, once you go a month or two, make sure that you're not forgetting anything. Because sometimes I've done that too, right? I have forgotten, like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Like the water. The water always gets me, right? Because that comes every 3 months. It's not really a seasonal expense, but I just forget sometimes. And so it is nice to keep that sheet handy. I always recommend pen and paper for this step of the process. I just see that when people actually write it down, if you're having a hard time remembering anything, this will help you, get in that process of memorizing it. So, but if not, pen and paper, there is spreadsheets and also apps. So when you write down your monthly expenses, start with the major four, which is food, shelter, transportation, and utilities. Those are the main ones. Those are the ones that we want to make sure are definitely covered, because those are necessities to live, work. And these are definitely ones we don't want to overlook. We don't want to forget about utilities or get down to the end of the budget when we've already started doing everything and forget about something small like maybe cable, right? So always put down the major four first. This is definitely a good key when doing any type of budgeting. When you're writing down your initial budget, is to start with that and then add all the small stuff, right? And then make sure there's stuff that comes, maybe something like, again, like the water that doesn't come every month, but maybe comes quarterly. Um, and that leads into further ones like write down your seasonal expenses, right? So these don't come, these come yearly but not monthly. And so like you got holidays, right? You might think of like in November, December, you might be traveling. Maybe you spend more money on hanging out with your family. These are ones that come up also. Seasonal expenses don't cover things like, let's say you have like a in-house water filtration system, you need to get filters every once in a while, oil changes on your cars. Seasonal expenses are generally just like months that you have heavier spending. And at this point, when we're starting these seasonal expenses, you might not know the exact dollar amount, and we'll get to that. And you might even have to go through the first cycle. You might have to go through the holiday season and see, okay, I'm gonna try and be tight, but how much money do I actually spend? Or you can even also pull up your bank statements from last year, which will give you a good idea of how much you want to budget. Seasonal expenses are good, but we want to start saving for them now so that we don't have a huge influx 1 month of our disposable income dropping down. It's just been a little bit of each month. I also know I take a summer vacation with my family. And as much as I'd love to think I save all the money, I don't, but I save a significant amount of it, which definitely offsets the cost, makes it a lot more affordable. But so I have two little savings plans I have going. You can definitely come up with your own customized ideas. You can always think of things like that, or maybe there's something that you want to accomplish, like maybe this spring in a couple more months you want to do something in your backyard. That would also be seasonal expense. But these don't seasonal expenses are, again, not things like water filters being replaced, oil changes. These are things that don't necessarily happen monthly, but they are something that we take on each year. Um, and yes, we would have a little budget for that as well. That would be drawn into our under our utilities and would sit in our utilities pocket, if you will. Um, and then you will need a miscellaneous category. This will help cover some of those filters, some of those oil changes. But this isn't a fund that when you see build that you're just like, hey, I'm gonna go buy a new TV, right? You're not gonna do that. You really want to stay on task for that. Now, if you budgeted for a new TV or something along the lines of like you say, okay, this year, it's not a seasonal expense, but I knew my TV's on the way out. I need to get a new one. Need, right? Not want, need, right? And again, when we're covering, this is a little step back, when we're covering needs and wants, you have to be very tight on your wants when you're doing any type of budget. Also, it's just very hard to be like as successful or to see the success that you've taken on when you're doing this, because it's kind of like you have like the angel and the devil on your shoulder, one telling you one thing, one telling you the other. Wants are definitely that one guy said, hey, you do need this coffee, or you need this 65-inch TV, right? This are these are temptations that we all take on. So when you have a miscellaneous category, it's not for that. It's not for that. But now again, if you want a TV or you want something different, budget for it. Create a category. Create it as after the major four are done. Create it and stick with it and start your budget and think about how much you want to do to it. And then really see if you can stay on budget. Because I know sometimes when people get there, it's like, oh, I have budgeted $500. Well, when I got there, there's this TV. It's $580, and it's just like a little bit bigger, just a little bit better. And I'm not saying TV specifically; it could be anything that you're into, right? Cars, boats, whatever. It's just whatever you're into. You can always see the next model up, and it's tempting to really go into that. But you have to have self control, and I know you can do it. But you have to have that self control and tell yourself like, no, this I only budgeted 500. Now, the cool thing would be is to think about when you buy that TV. If you patient, wait for the holidays to come out, any kind of appliance purchasing and saving that money, right? That would be the other thing, is actually getting a better TV for less. So keep that as your game. See how frugal you can be and make the best of it. Um, but when it comes to the practice of subtracting your income um, from your expenses, don't be discouraged. Okay, this is going to take some time. This is an advanced budgeting technique. This is not something that by advanced you can't do it, but you would definitely want to have mastered other ones first, like the 50-30-20. But when you start this, don't be discouraged, because you might not remember other expenses or something might happen. Maybe it's a life-changing event that happens, and all of a sudden halfway through it's I got kind of side railed for a little bit. But don't give up. I know you can do it, but take a few moments, a month to practice and really be fine-tuned. If 6 months in you're really having issues, then maybe this isn't the best budget for you, or you should try something differently. But generally, when I see people practice this, it's like 60-90 days and they really start just kind of clicking in. And then it just kind of happens. Like, every month, certain things that come in, the seasonals, I mean, you really learn. And the reason that this is such an effective budget is it goes down to like learning a language again. And I know I've said this before, but if you're trying to learn a language, you try to study it 20 minutes a day, right? Become more fluent. Having so much on task, having so much time spent with your budget, thinking about it, thinking about all the bills that come in, is really like learning a language, and you really will learn it. So don't be discouraged again how long it might take to get flying. But this is a great budget once you get off the ground, and once it starts going, it will be methodical because you think about it so often, and not in a negative way. You're just like, you're thinking about the numbers. You always think about this flow, and it'll just naturally happen in the background, like riding a bike, if you can ride a bike, that is. So what to look out for? So disadvantages of this technique, it is a little time consuming to set up because again, you have to write out your whole budget, paper, spreadsheet, or app. But you write out your whole budget, and then it takes time to adjust, right? You might spend a couple months really fine tuning it. And you're not spending the whole month, but you might come back to it a couple times, spend some moments here and there, and really fine tune it. And there will definitely be some trial and error. I've done this budget. It's not perfect. I like I said, I forgot about the cable, or sorry, the water bill usually got me. Some bills are in fluctuation. And I know it's cool because cell phones nowadays are a lot more controlled on their price, but sometimes you just get like floored on the data usage. And that would be something you obviously have to cover, what categories that come out of, and that's what it is. So there are some trial and error. And there are going to be frequent adjustments to start, right? And this is something that we're just going to all have to accept, that we're not masters. And I don't really know if there's anybody that masters that's budgeting, unless you generally are doing it for someone else. Generally, if you're helping someone else do their budget, it's super easy because you're not actually going to be affected by the decisions made in that, that fiduciary decision. However, it's a lot harder when it's your own budget, and it does create pressure to stay on budget, right? So like, if you don't get down to zero the first couple months, that's okay. You're going to make jobs for those dollars, or maybe those dollars you just didn't think you have left over, and this might be a cool discovery. But once it's all zero based and something else fun comes up, or something that might throw you off task, it does keep that pressure because it's like, well, I can't afford it. I can't, and it does keep that, that knee-jerk reaction to buy something, that impulsive buying. It does keep that out of hand. So, but here's some of the advantages. You do stay focused on your goals. I mean, you really are going to be looking at your goals the whole time. They'll be top of mind, so that'll be good. So you'll always see it, and then you'll know when the finish line has been crossed, and you can celebrate these small ones along the way for your big goals. It does leave room for fine-tuned spending. You'll find this out the first month or two, that you say, okay, here's my income, but you budget it all down. Then actually you still have money left over. You're going to see that okay, now I can fine tune this. Maybe I can put a little bit more into my debt. I was only paying $100 for my debt. Now I'm going to pay 150, right? And so right away it starts like changing. You see that instant effect the first time that you do it. And that's why this budget is great. But it does leave like it's like I said, when you where you can splurge, and saving becomes very clear, right? So you see that, oh man, actually I'm not spending that much. Like I thought I was spending this much on gas in my car each month. I'm not. Or maybe it's a food budget, or maybe it's the other way around where you're spending more. You're like, I thought I could stay on top of my disposable income budget, and I'm blowing through it the first couple of days, right? So this will bring a lot of things to light. Now, with that being said, we looked at again the zero-based budget. Simply put, income minus expenses equals zero. It's going to take some time. This is a more advanced budgeting technique. Not saying you shouldn't just try it. It won't, essentially hurt you, but it might make things very, very clear of what you're not necessarily doing on par. So that being said, I definitely want to recommend checking out our new webinar page. If you want to use your cell phone and scan this will take you right there. You can also get to it from arborfcu.org. Under the Learn tab, you'll see webinars. This is a great place to find resources of post and future webinars, as well as some tips. You can also sign up for our newsletter so you're proactively let known of these upcoming webinars. But it's really just a hub that you can really get yourself going and take charge of your money. So that being said, I definitely want to thank you for tuning in. I'm really looking forward to the next time we get to see you. In our next month's get-togethers, we're going to be covering a lot of fraud and scams. I know there's been a lot of things going around in Southwest Michigan as well as nationally, so do tune in for that as an update to make sure that you are protected. And as always, I want to thank you again for tuning in. We are here to serve you. Please, if there's ever anything I can do, don't hesitate to reach out.